Hi, everyone. I know I'm standing between you and the beer, so I'll try to be quick and finish on time. What I want to tell you today is a little story of a hackathon I participated in over winter. And what was really cool about it is that I was really passionate because it was my idea and because I could use the technologies that I'm interested in. And those are Spark and Docker. Maybe just if you could raise your hand if you used Docker before. Okay, good. And have you used Spark? Okay, so more Docker than Spark, but good. I won't go into the details, but I'll just briefly mention. We don't have much time. Okay, so let's start. What I found interesting is that it's a mix of how I can use those two together, and then together with a cool idea, at least in my opinion. And then the whole project was submitted to the competition, and it got me the main prize. So I'm not here to brag about it, but I just want to tell you that if you leave before the end of the talk, I want you to have a look at Docker and have a look at Spark. And I really believe that they are the technologies that will be that they are entering mainstream, and this is like the future of software development. So I really encourage you to look at them. And also, if you ever participated in a hackathon, then it's good, you're on a good side. If you haven't, then I encourage you to take part in one. And I must say this was one of the best, most enjoyable projects I worked on. So a little bit about me. Okay, I'm actually not in the presentation mode. So I'm Radek Ostrowski. I'm a freelance engineer. I'm a founder of Fast Data Limited. But it's me and my wife, so it's not a big company. I frequently work with TopTal, which is like an agency that lets you work remotely. So basically, once we get in, you have a big board of different jobs, and all of the jobs are remote. So this is actually what I did. I was over the winter. I stayed for 3 months in Colombia on the Caribbean coast, like 10 minutes from the beach, and I was working from a hammock like part-time, and then the other part-time I did this hackathon project. So if you ever wondered if it's possible to be living somewhere in some island in paradise and keep on earning good money, it is possible. So you can visit this link if you want to know more, or you can ask me after the talk. But what I'll focus today is how I use Spark and Docker to build this product. So today's story, shortly how it all started, how it works. I'll do a quick demo, and then I'll show you a bit of Docker and a bit of Spark. And we'll try to find with the perfect weather. So how it all started, IBM is heavily investing into Spark. They're buying all the Spark developers they can find. They're trying to convert them into IBM. They set up several Spark technology centers. So I think if they believe in it, it's a way forward. What they also recently did, they bought the weather company. They wanted to add it as one of their services to their big data cloud platform called IBM Bluemix. And somebody must have had this idea, why not marry the two and then promote the Bluemix platform and promote Spark and use the weather data, and they came up with an idea of a hackathon. And D stands for DevPost. It's one of the organizers of various hackathons. So they do local hackathons and the ones which are run remotely. And I took a part in a remote one. So it wasn't compressed 2 days or something like this. It spanned a couple of months. So then I could marry my normal life with my family life and then participating in a project. And the hackathon was called Sparkathon. So what was my idea here? So I have to use Spark as part of the competition. I have to run on the Bluemix platform, and I have to use the weather data. And I had this idea for some time before this, that normally, if you want to go for holidays, you would first think of a city, and then you would check that if this particular city has the weather that you would like. And then if it doesn't, then you have to go and find another city and check if the weather is as you would expect. And you have to iterate until you're successful, until you find whatever you're looking for. So I thought, why not turn it upside down? Why not give you a form where you define what is your perfect weather? What do you want? And then just show you a list of destinations and rank them accordingly to how many days really match your request. So basically that's the whole idea, very simple. So the project is called My Perfect Weather, and it runs on myperfectweather.eu. I'll give you a short demo, and then we'll be back to the presentation. Actually, it was written initially in AngularJS, so as my previous speaker was. So basically, okay, so My Perfect Weather, it helps you discover cities in Europe that match the definition of your perfect weather. And what you can do here, you have various controls of the weather. So first one is temperature. You have precipitation types. You can choose rain or snow or none. And then which means that the chance of precipitation will be 0. You can adjust them. You can change cloud cover, so like the percentage of clouds visible on the sky, and wind speed, humidity, and so on. But one of the first feedbacks I got from the users that it might be a bit intimidating for them to start twiddling with the controls. So I added several preset buttons. So you could choose, for example, warm, sunny, and dry. And then it automatically adjusts some of them. You can go ahead and update it if you want to. And what I did, the project also integrates with the service called Skyscanner. They are not so popular in Poland, but basically it's like a search. It's a flight search. So basically you say where you're flying from, where you want to go to, and then they will try to find the cheapest possible flight options for you. So I thought it will really fit the bill of what I'm trying to do here. And I get the weather from the weather company. And if anyone would be interested after the talk, then I invite you to sign up for the mailing list. I will not spam you. I haven't sent a single email yet. So, right. So let's say we want to find somewhere warm, sunny, and dry. I live in Edinburgh, so this is what I always want to do. Now in Poland, it's really nice weather, so probably we could go fishing or something, or kite time, or snow. We won't find snow at this time. Anyway, so let's choose Krakow here. And let's see, where is our perfect weather? So we have several hits. Number 9 here means that out of the 10 days in the future, 9 matched our query. So this would be like almost perfect, ideal destination for us. And the perfect days are marked with a blue background. So this day didn't, because it has 10% chance of rain. All other ones have 0, and this is what we ask for. And yeah, we would see a list of cities, and they just go down. The less cities, the less perfect days there are. Interestingly now, I also check what is the cheapest price on this route. So for example, to fly to here would be around 134 pounds. And this price was found 3 days ago. So this is all estimate, because I don't know which days you want to be flying, and I don't know exactly what days this price came from. But this is just to give you an idea of how much it might cost to go there. And then if you think, okay, maybe let's go to France, maybe there's some game in Marseille, and there's the perfect weather for me as well. So this one takes you to the Skyscanner page, where you can adjust the dates of your flights, and you will see different prices. But everybody knows how it works. you just look for the cheapest price in your destination. There's a useful option here. Normally, it would suggest you which days are cheaper, so you can adjust your trip. But anyway, okay, I think that's about it. Maybe I'll show you the Sparkathon page. So DevPost, this is the organizers of the hackathons, and this was the IBM Bluemix and Spark. There were nearly 600 participants, so I was thrilled when I heard that I got the main prize. But they have hackathons running all the time, so if you're feeling that there is a new technology that you want to learn and you have some free time, I really encourage you to participate. And this is a page of the project. And there's a little bit story behind it. But okay, let's go back to the presentation. A little bit high-level overview of the architecture. It is super simple. I only spent like 2 weeks building it. I spent a week doing a video that I have to submit for the competition, but the technical part was very easy. So basically, we have this Bluemix platform, which have various services. And the main service for me here is the weather API. Basically, you just do post calls, and you get JSON for various destinations. So you just give it GPS coordinates, and then you get a weather prediction. And then I have it was initially Angular app. Now it's just Play in JavaScript because the page is so simple. I don't really need Angular there. But what it does, it gets all the weather prediction and it saves it into CloudDB. If you haven't heard of it, it's like a JSON store like MongoDB, but with the REST interface instead of like some special connectors. And then I would have a Spark notebook which connects to the database, fetches the raw JSON weather predictions, and does some simple ETLs and spits back the results to the database. And then when the user comes along and they search for weather, I just query the database and I present them with the results. And initially, I was using a Momondo as a travel service, but I didn't have like an agreement with them to use their API, so I just tried to figure out what like REST calls they do. But then very quickly they changed it, and then I just figured it's not the way to go. So now I got I'm like an affiliate with Skyscanner, so I can use their API in a clean way. But this is very simple. And this is like a screenshot of the Bluemix platform. Has anyone used Bluemix platform? No. I think it's still relatively new. They have lots of different services there. But the one of interest for me was the container service, which let me deploy the Docker image. Of course, the weather service, which let me download the weather predictions and CloudDB for the database. And but they also have, for example, like insights for Twitter and streaming analytics and all kind of various things. And they introduced object storage recently, which is like S3 from Amazon. I got like a free trial as the participant of the hackathon, so I didn't have to spend any money on it. Right, so as the saying says, that the best thing come in small containers. Shortly about Docker. What I used here in the project is an SBT Docker plugin, which basically let me convert the building of the project into, like, as the final stage of building my project, I end up with an image, with a Docker image, which is ready to be run straight away. And the plugin helps me package it all up. And briefly about the Bluemix container service. So this is where the Docker image runs. So with the plugin, oh yeah, I didn't mention. So I built it in Scala with Play. So build SBT is like Maven, POM XML in Java. So there are several options that you can add that they are Docker specific. but probably you can just get around by not adding anything, or maybe just one option, because it has really good defaults. And then it would generate a Docker file for you. So if you're not a Docker expert and you don't have you don't want to apply any changes there, then you can it will just generate it for you with one command. I had to do some tricks to get it running the way I want it. It's mainly because the IBM container service, it's still not mature, so it's missing some options. But if anyone was interested, then you can ask me afterwards. So basically, the whole build is in one command. I do sbt docker publish local, and what it does, it compiles all the code, and it packages into the Docker container, and the plugin itself also creates a script, which is an entry point to the Docker command, which will run the server, start the play server. So I don't have to worry about how I want to start it or what I want to put inside of the container. Very straightforward. If I wanted to publish it to the Bluemix platform, I would have to log in. There is a little bit of configuration where you have to set up your registry inside of Bluemix, and then just renaming the image. And then with Docker push, your image from your machine goes straight to the container service, and you can just run it. So you can run it in two ways. One is via command line, but it's a little bit limited. It doesn't let me do all of the things, so I ended up running it via UI. So here, for example, you specify like the details of your container, what you want to be running, which image exactly, and some parameters. And here I would also have to specify what additional services I want to be using. So I would have to say that I want the weather service and CloudMDB as well. And one of the limitations I found about this is that it doesn't let me expose ports in a nice way, like you can do with Docker. So you have the port which is on the outside of the Docker and the port on the inside of the Docker, and they can be different. You can't really do this here, or at least not at the time when I did this. So I found it a big limitation for Docker containers. So it was Docker shortly, now Spark. At the time of the competition, they only had notebooks, so you couldn't really just submit your jar and run your job. It would have to be like an interactive notebook. They're using Jupyter. I think one of the talks on this conference used Zeppelin. It's very similar. What I will do today, I'll use yet another type of notebook, which is called Spark Notebook. So I don't want to be tempting demo gods, so I'll just run it locally instead of on the platform. Okay, so very quickly, how we get from raw weather data, which looks like this. It just every one JSON file per line, and I enriched it a little bit, so I added city and then an airport code and a country, but the rest is the metadata and a forecast data of the weather prediction. So you can't really figure out anything from it. It's a lot of information. But what I will do now in a quick demo is how you can easily use Spark to process it and make some sense out of it. Right, so as I said, I'll use a Spark notebook. I'll go through it rather quickly, but if anyone has any questions, you can ask me later. So let's do some imports first. Basically, what happens here with the notebook, it's an executable code, and what's behind the notebook, it depends on you. So in this instance, I just have a Spark running locally, but you can be connecting to a huge cluster somewhere and have the code executing somewhere else. So, and those type of notebooks are becoming now very popular, especially among like data scientists, that they can do their interactive data analysis. but it's also quite good for presentations. So you know that this code really works. So okay, I get some imports. Now I will use this raw JSON file. I already downloaded it. And now the first call is I'm using Spark SQL command here. And I'm just saying, okay, the data source is JSON, so just read it in for me. And there are various data sources that Spark supports, and I think this is one of the powers there as well. So okay, let's read it, and let's display one row. So as you could figure out there in JSON, there is an ID, airport, country, some forecast, and some metadata. But we can't really tell much from it yet. How many cities do we have? 101. So here what I'll do now, I'll try to extract the useful information, something that I can actually use. So the nice thing here is that I can go deep inside of the JSON objects. So I can even go to 2 levels deep or more or whatever, doesn't really matter. And you can treat it, you can kind of write SQL queries if it makes it easy for you. But you can use various data formats. Actually, do you guys see it at the back? Not really. Doesn't make it any bigger. So let's see how it looks like now. A bit more legible. So it looks like we have arrays here. So day of the week starts from Friday, finishes on Monday, and then there is some date, some number, max, min temperature. High stands for perceived temperature, and there is wind, and so on and so on. If you notice, like some of the entries miss, some of the list miss the first entry, it is because it starts from today, and for some of the predictions doesn't make sense to predict today. So basically what I'll do later, I'll just get rid of the first one and I'll start from tomorrow. So the next step is to get it actually into a row per row. So we don't want to have it as a list, we just want to have it as single entries. So that's basically what I will do here. I'll just iterate over all the list of all the cities and I will expand it. And it will finally look like this. So we have days, dates, temperatures, mean temperature. This is something I calculated on the fly in the previous cell, and wind speed, direction, and so on and so on. So this one would be or for Alicante, and then another one would be for Amsterdam, and so on for all the cities. Interestingly, they also give an icon code. So this is something that, like if you see a sun or on a cloud or something as the icon, they just give me a number, so I don't have to figure out myself, which is pretty good. But yeah, now we are at the point where we can actually start doing something useful with this. So now we can try to look for the perfect weather. So I have some examples here. So if we were to look for warm, sunny, and dry, we could just write a simple query saying min temperature greater than 20 degrees, clouds covers less than 30, and 0 chance of rain. And let's see what comes up. We have several days. So we have 6 days that match the query, and it's 2 in Athens, 2 in Palermo, and 2 in Valletta. Probably here we would decide on where we want to go based on the price of the flight, if we decided to go there. Something else we could try, if you want to fly a kite, we could do similar query, but take wind speed into consideration. And Now I also sort and count the perfect days. So again, Alicante came up #1. So it has 6 perfect days for flying a kite. And we have Gdańsk at the bottom. And let's say if we want to go fishing, it's a big go fishing. What I mean here is that there is like little wind and high cloud cover. So because if the sun is quite strong, then fish probably would go underwater. So high cloud cover, they should be quite not going too deep, so it's more likely for us to catch them out. So here we have Stockholm, for example. It looks like would be the perfect place for fishing. Of course, you need lakes and things, but yeah. Actually, Torun comes up. I'm from Torun, so I had to try this query multiple times, so it came up on the list. But anyway, that's how you can use Spark to process the data. The thing is, I didn't really need Spark because the data set is very small. The cool thing about this is that once the data set becomes big, so it's no longer easy to do it on one machine, it's no problem. I can just point it to a cluster and it will do the work for me. And if I ever want to do something more intelligent here, start using some machine learning techniques, maybe try to predict or estimate something, it will be also straightforward to add it to the application. Right, so that's it. Just to summarize everything, I really think that there are 2 technologies that are worth to look at, and very quickly you can build like small projects and proof of concepts, and I think they are very powerful. Docker gives you flexibility and independence from a platform provider. So just to prove the point, I made a quick test with the Docker Cloud, and I pointed into AWS, and I used the latest My Perfect Weather Docker image, and 5 minutes later I had the production-ready service running in Amazon, just by taking the image and putting it into some other cloud. So I think this really proves that Docker is a way forward. And IBM Bluemix, I think it's still relatively new, at least it's not as mature as other services, but I think it's catching up. And I would encourage everyone to participate in the hackathon, because honestly, this was like the best project I ever worked on. And yeah, if you ever want to try out your new umbrella and you want to look for rain, then I'm quite sure that Edinburgh will come up high on the list. So if you ever come and say hi. That's it. So I think it's time for beer.